be talking about the easing of lockdown in the United Kingdom. We'll start by talking about the first step, obviously, in March, on the 8th of March, when children in the UK went back to nursery, infant school, junior school, and colleges and universities. Obviously, it's quite overwhelming for parents to see their children finally go back to school after months of being at home and tutoring at home. So we can imagine that the toll on mums and everything else, becoming a teacher and a counsellor and everything else. So kids went back in March, so thankfully that's good for their mental health as well as our own. And then obviously this month on the 12th of April, we had the easing of lockdown on some of the shops going back to normal. So basically the hairdressers, the normal shops, retail outlets, Primarks, and all the nice shops that we used to go to before the lockdown happened last December. So that was quite good as well. Obviously, we saw an influx of foot flow through most shops and shopping malls, although some people still remain cautious, which we have to, because we still have to maintain social distancing of 2 meters, and we still have to wear masks. And obviously that's going to go on for a few months yet anyway. But that all being in hand, who rushed to the hairdressers in the first week? Well, I certainly didn't. I waited for that to sort of like seize down a little bit. Who rushed to go to Primark? Not me, but I saw loads of stuff on the TV where people queued for hours to go into sort of West End shops to buy their trainers and things. But obviously, people saving up their money and going and doing some shopping, because something that we do. I mean, online shopping, I mean, how far can you go? But yeah, that was good. And then obviously we've got the 17th of May, where we're going to see some, obviously with the restaurants opening now, outdoor gardens and stuff, you can meet outside with 2 other families, or up to 6 people outside, not inside your house obviously yet, but that will obviously change from the 17th of May, where we can meet another household inside the house as well. So at the moment it's currently all being done outside. We've got the fresh air, so if there's COVID particles, it can be blown away, so we know that. And obviously hand hygiene, masks. Obviously not wearing masks when you're socializing with your friends, but obviously masks in other shopping malls and stuff like that, retail shops and stuff, and markets. You obviously need to keep the social distancing masks for markets. But yes, so hopefully when we can finally go to restaurants, sit down with our friends and family, and finally eat without our masks on, of course, that'd be quite interesting, because it's going to be quite overwhelming, because obviously we still have to maintain some degree of social distancing, and obviously some degree of like hygiene. Obviously when you go to sit down to eat, you wash your hands, and I'm sure everything's going to be different. Digital menus perhaps, other bits and pieces going on there. So yeah, that'd be interesting. So yeah, 2 households to meet in April inside the house. Outside the house, and then in May, two households can meet inside the house, have a barbecue maybe, or have a meal inside the house, or even at a restaurant. And obviously cinemas, clubs, pubs, restaurants, theatres, gradually getting there back to normal. Quite interesting really to see what sort of outcomes we're going to have. It's been quite a traumatic year actually, to say the least, to think that we've lost so many people to this horrible virus, that came about just over a year and a half ago, that we've known about it, and it's claimed so many lives, millions of lives globally. To think that, all right, we need viruses to evolve, and we need viruses because they change the way that we think, they change humanity, they change our ecosystems, our agriculture, the way we look at food, the way we travel, and everything else. So viruses have a detrimental part in how we evolve as humans, and as obviously the world globally. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in the next few months, and I've got some interesting stuff to share with you as well, from a scientific perspective, in relation to new technologies, new drugs that are coming about to fight the viruses. So all good stuff. So yeah, and obviously we're going to talk about mental health a little bit, but let's get on to the 17th of May. So yes, we can finally have a date with our friends and family, meet them at a restaurant, sit down inside, have a meal, talk. Don't know about hugging yet, so hugging, so far, so maybe keep that at bay. But yeah, that'd be interesting to see. I mean, obviously the government have done it in line so that everything is 5 weeks apart, and the reason they've done that is because they want to sort of like look at the strategies they've put in place to see what's happening with infection rates. Now, we know that we have a 73% herd immunity in the United Kingdom. That was on Monday last week, the 15th of April. We know that. We know that a football match took place at the weekend. I think it's over in Wembley. 80,000 people with masks, obviously, but had to prove they had a negative COVID test. So that'd be interesting to see what come about with that experiment in the next 2 weeks, to see if anything got passed over, spreaded. Obviously, not if no one's proven positive. So it'd be a good tactic to use for scientific purposes. So 21st of June, final easing of the lockdown. So we've had stage 1, which is the 8th of March. Schools opened up, universities. Stage 2, 12th of April, where some shops and outside venues, like pubs and restaurants, can serve food and drinks outside. Hairdressers open, beauty salons, so everyone can get groomed and doomed. And then obviously we've got the 17th of May, where we're going to see another lockdown. We hopefully can meet indoors with other families and other friends. And then we're going to have the 21st of June, which is the 4th stage. It'll be interesting to see what happens then as well, when it means that we can have international flights and we can go outside and meet more than 30 people. It means we can go to large venues. We can go to a football match, we can go to the cinema, we can go to a wedding, we can go to a funeral, we can go to birthday parties, and all those things that we've missed out in the past 18 months or what have you. So it'd be quite interesting to see how that spans out, actually. And obviously it's difficult for me because I'm on my own in the studio talking to you guys, and I haven't got anybody else to ask me any questions, because usually I have loads of people throwing questions at me and asking me stuff. But let's talk about the research. Obviously, we know that the virus has been around for a year and a half now, and we know without viruses, humanity can't evolve, neither can our ecosystems and our agriculture and everything else, and all the farming and how we perceive things for the future. But like I said, we've known about viruses for millennia now, and we know without them, we can't evolve. And we know that all pathogens obviously have good and bad effects on humans and on animals, and on mammals as well. So yeah, it's interesting. Right, social distancing, obviously that still has to stay in place until the 17th of May. So we still have to abide by the government guidelines. We still have to wear a mask. We have to make sure that we follow those rules. What will happen on the 21st of June? Well, easing of lockdown stage 4. Yes, we can meet other people. From what I've heard from the scientific perspective in the meetings I attend on a weekly basis, usually every Wednesday, we're told that they're looking at removing the social distancing and the masks from the 21st of June, which would be great, because eventually we can see each other smiling, and when we greet and meet and everyone, we'll be able to see the expressions, because currently we're not able to see that. In a way, it's been good because a lot of people have been very depressed, very down. So, looking at people in their faces and seeing their expression is really going to be a fundamental part of like getting out of this terrible pandemic that we've been in. So that'd be interesting, and it'd be quite liberating as well, I suppose. Yeah, definitely liberating. What else are we going to find out? Social distancing, masks, yeah, from 21st of June, they're looking at easing it down slowly. And hopefully by July, they're hoping international travel can take place after the 25th of July. So hopefully UK residents can travel abroad, but providing we're going to have a traffic light system, red, green, and yellow. Obviously, red being countries we can't travel to because, one, they haven't got the vaccines out properly. Certain places like obviously India, Turkey, Mexico, Colombia, America, they're currently in the red zones. If you're going to a country in the yellow zone, it should be okay. Some parts like Portugal, Greece, what have you. Some parts of Europe, I suppose, and obviously the green countries, where the countries within the UK, like Ireland, Cornwall, Wales, Scotland, you can travel in and out, no problem. So they're probably the best places probably to travel is going to be somewhere in the UK. If you want to go back to another country and bring another variant back and having to find your quarantine for 10 days there and back, it's not going to be really much of a holiday, is it? So that's that. In respect of vaccines, right, vaccines. Currently, If you've had the first vaccine, you are 75% protected. That's either Oxford or AstraZeneca. If you've had 2 doses of either of the 2 vaccines, obviously you can't mix and match vaccines, but if you've had your second dose, you're 95% protected. Now, when I say 95%, you're 95% protected, but obviously no vaccine will offer you 100% protection against the virus or an illness or whatever it may be. Even if you have surgery, nothing's 100%. So there's always that little percentage that something's not going to work. But we have to say that because things change and we don't know why they change. And sometimes we have to be on par with the people the epidemiologists and everything else, and all the geologists that work and they monitor the mutation and the genome of this virus. So currently, we know there's been an Indian one, a variant, and there's been a Brazilian one, only 2 or 3 places, but they've kept them under quarantine and it's eradicated. So we know that the government are doing their bit in obviously monitoring that. Now, if you do want to travel abroad after the 25th of July, you probably can do, but you will need a vaccine passport. And one of those is going to be through the NHS website, where you're going to have to download that you've had proof that you've had both vaccines. Now, you're lucky if you're middle-aged like myself, who've had both. But if you're much younger and you're about 25 to 45 and haven't been vaccinated yet, hold it right there, you're going to be called upon this week because the NHS are calling out to anyone from the age of 42 to 25 to come forward and be vaccinated. Currently, during Ramadan, there is a Ramadan bus, I think it's in Shoreditch, Edgware and Woolwich, where they've got 3 buses who are working 24 hours around the clock and they're doing vaccines for people. So if you're fasting, if you're a Muslim or Islamic background and you're worried about getting the vaccine, or if you're younger, obviously get protected because you don't want to just protect you, you want to protect your family, your friends, and if you do want to go away, you want to make sure you're vaccinated to get protected. So make sure you have that because obviously they have to be 10 weeks apart. If you're doing it now, being in April, by the end of June, you need to have your second vaccine. So obviously if you're planning to go away in July, you ain't going anywhere until you've had your second vaccine because you will need that vaccine passport. That is a must. So just letting all you young people out there, if you haven't got any underlying issues and you want to travel, currently, Public Health England are vaccinating 42, the age group 42 and below. So anything from 42 below. We vaccinated people 42 to 55. So now we're working on the 42s, going to come down to the 38s, and then from 38 to 35, and the 35 to 30. So make sure that if you are called to get vaccinated, get it done because this is the only way we're going to see any light at the end of this tunnel. And it's not just about protecting you, it's about protecting the people that you're going to come into contact with, come be it the 17th of May, 21st of June, you know, have some level or degree of protection there because it's really, really important. Obviously, the government have put a bill in place to say that the coronavirus bill will be in place for 2 years. Now, that was launched on the 23rd of March 2020, and it will remain in place till the 23rd of March 2022, which is next year, March. So we can't do a U-turn once we come out of this lockdown, but what they can do is they can restrict us. They can put temporary measures in if they feel that there may be a third wave come September or October, or if we have any new variants or any new mutations. So just be on guard for that. So if you get protected now, we want to increase the herd immunity. We've got 84% now, but we want to increase that to hopefully 95% by the end of July. So the more people we get vaccinated, the better it'll be for us to get some normality back in this country anyway. I can't speak on behalf of obviously European governments or on a global perspective, but what I can say is that we're doing our best to make sure that people here are getting vaccinated and we're on target. So that's really, really important. Obviously, social distancing are in place with masks wearing up until the end of June anyway, 21st of June. So make sure that you wash your hands, sanitize, social distance until then, until the government officially announce it in June. Obviously, scientists are saying that the ones that have had their second dose, it shouldn't be a problem for them to remove their masks because we know with even the first dose, you have 75% protection on the third week anyway. From the moment the needle goes into your arm, you have 54% protection anyway within 72 hours of receiving that vaccine. So it's all positive stuff for you guys. So what are you guys going to do? What are people planning to do when we come out of lockdown? We're going to celebrate. I mean, I've seen the pubs full. 10 o'clock, you drive past the pub here in Enfield or in Tottenham or in Haringey, and the pub gardens are just full of people. Obviously, there's the social distancing. I've seen people wear a mask and have a straw and drinking their beer or their drink through their mask, but everyone's different. So whatever makes you feel comfortable. And some people, you have to bear in mind, they're not going to be too comfortable, because don't forget, 18 months of being in this pandemic, a lot of people are going to have psychological issues, they're going to have mental health issues. Some people are going to be overwhelmed when the restrictions are eased. So, take one step at a time, be kind to one another. There's a lot of people out there who are battling depression, anxiety, who have underlying issues that they probably haven't been able to talk about. And obviously this lockdown has had detrimental effects on their well-being. I mean, I was speaking with a doctor earlier this afternoon, and we were talking about the lack of vitamin D during lockdown, the lack of exercise, people putting on weight, the lack of multivitamins that they need to have. Obviously, as humans, we need interaction, we need to be held, we need to be hugged, we need to be kissed, we need to be loved, and we've not been able to do that. So all these things are going to be very overwhelming when we eventually come out of this lockdown. So I think that we all have to sort of take a deep breath, embrace what's going to be coming, and take it easy and just be nice to one another. Obviously, there's going to be people who have underlying issues. Hopefully, if they need medical attention, that can be sorted out eventually, because doctors and hospitals are going to be doing face-to-face appointments from the 17th of May. Glad to say. So hopefully some surgeries will be taking place as well, which should be good. And then obviously funerals and parties and everything else. After the 21st of June, there's going to be no limit on the amount of people you can mix with. It's just on the 17th of May. We'll just be able to interact more freely, I suppose. So just bearing that in mind. Also, way forward, just before I finish up, I've got a few minutes before I finish. Vaccine by Oxford. They're looking at a new vaccine whereby we'll just need what we call a booster shot, like you get in the winter when you get your flu vaccine. You won't need 2 doses, just 1 dose, 5 milligram dose in your arm, in the deltoid muscle. Again, it's just going to be a top up, so it will cover all the variants as well. Oxford are working on it, and I also understand that Pfizer are working on it as well. So you won't need 2 vaccines, only 1 in the winter, and I believe that doctors can do that, or your pharmacy. So it'll just be a top up. Also, breaking news: we might be having a COVID pill to treat COVID, which you have to obviously swallow, and obviously it does something where it produces antibodies in the nasal area, the larynx, and the lungs. So it's a way forward. It's in stage 1 at the moment. It's been trialled on 10,000 people in Europe, so that's an interesting thing to listen out for. I've shared some of the stuff on my own Facebook page, so feel free to browse that. And also, what else was we going to say? So the vaccine, there's a booster, Pfizer and Oxford, and obviously the tablet, which scientists are working on here in the UK. There is another possibility of Turkey have invented a nasal spray, very similar to something like Sudafed, or something that you use for nasal congestion for hay fever, and something that they do with insulin now as well. It's going to be a nasal spray that you can spray into the nostril, and it will give you protection. So that's another good thing. So it'll be quite interesting to see what happens, but watch this space for more information and scientific stuff. Okay, nice speaking to you all. Stay safe, stay well, keep social distancing, and be nice and kind to one another. Good evening. Bye bye.